It's time to step inside the Octagon with your host, Ike Feldman.
What's up, everybody? What's up, combat sports fans? What's up, fight fans? What's up, lovers of life? Yes, because we don't only just talk about fighting and choking and killing people on the mats, legally, of course, but we like to talk about culture and local people who are just killing the game. And I'm not just talking about career. I'm not just talking about on the mats, just as human beings. And my next in-studio guest is somebody who all of that applies to. Jeruzelski Goy, better known as J-Ski, which he will be referred to moving forward from this point forward. Good luck to me. I will try to say it again at the end of this. But my boy, at 718beer on Instagram, J-Ski Consultant. The dude is just crossing off so many boxes in life, and those are the type of people that I like to have in mi casa, in mi home. I really appreciate your energy, your style, just you as a person. We've met, crossed paths, of course, on the Sarah mats, but I have no doubt that we will continue to grow our relationship and bond as friends and teammates for many years to come. My man, how you doing? Thank you for coming through.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. You have a gift. I don't know if like one eye is just like completely shut off and another eye is like Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator eye, or like Vegeta. Is it Vegeta or Vegeta?
Yeah, Vegeta.
Like you have like one of those like
Super Saiyan.
Yeah, dude.
That's funny.
You were telling me the origin story of J-Ski's photography when you were in 5th grade, and we'll get into that. It's pretty amazing, but I love the way you see the world. Like if you ever see the makeup fighter, like you would have like a Jose Aldo legs, a John Jones IQ in the cage, a Conor McGregor left hand. Like you ever see those people?
Yeah.
You got to take my ears and we got to take your eye, and we got to figure out the rest of the teammates with the body parts. But yeah, your eye is something special, man. And your work, again, guys, go check out j-ski.com to see just I can't even explain the photos. I can't do it justice. It's frozen beauty is the way that I can try to describe it. But yeah, man, how much do you enjoy just capturing moments of people?
Man, thanks. I appreciate it. I'm flattered. As I was saying earlier, I see the world, in the frames, right? And I love capturing people. It's really hard to explain, really, really hard to explain. But since my young days, right, like I've always had something that I can capture an image of people with for as long as I've known, and to the point where, like, when it's time to take a family photo and everyone takes their phones out, right? And everybody's like, Jay, jump in the picture, which for many years I wasn't the type of guy to jump in the picture. But when I do, my wife already looks at me and goes, you're not going to like it because it's not going to be to your standards. But yeah.
It's kind of weird, though, that the photographer might be better looking than the subjects. Have you ever thought about that? Like, or has anybody been like, dude, get the photo, man, like take a selfie or something? Like, you're a well put together man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm flattered again.
No problem. Are you hypercritical of people's work, or do you try to digest it, like their style, their art? Can you adopt, or what's your style of collaborating with people, or are you just the lone wolf when it comes to your craft?
Well, I'm super huge on if we all work together, we all win together. So I'm very collaborative when it comes to working with folks as a whole. Art is interesting, man, because it's all about perspectives, right? I could look at something and be like, yo, that's trash. And then someone else can pay $500K for it, right? But But I think there are standards, right? There are things that across the board are genuinely trash, right? Like if you intended to do something and you didn't quite hit it, okay, there's a lapse there. Like for example, it's known in photography, unless you're intentionally trying to blur a subject, if your subject is a person, the eyes must be laser sharp, right? But there are instances where you're intentionally taking a blurry subject, such as if I'm opening the shutter speed and I'm tracking a subject across the ways, then they're not going to be essentially sharp, right? But if I'm taking a portrait, everything should be pristine. And there are so many ways to bend that rule, and few and far in between. And so I am very much a person that I think I need to understand the art, right? So like either you're going to explain it to me or I'm going to take a moment to really ingest it as opposed to jump to a quick assumption. I think everyone's approach is completely different. I recently had a client just this past weekend that purchased a photo package. She was a photographer. Not only am I super critical I'm not really super critical of others' work. I'm more aware of it, but I'm super critical of my work, man. Like sometimes I struggle with, I'm doing something and I have to understand that the consumer might not see it at my standards, right? And so sometimes I have to pause and move on or call that a finish, even though in my heart and soul it's not finished. But for the consumer, it might be finished. And so I remember delivering just literally like yesterday, and I was just like, hey, here's a photo package. Here's an extra photo. Thank you for your support. We know that you're a photographer as well. So we appreciate you investing in your art, because a lot of folks that are in a profession don't invest in other folks that are also in their profession, right, which is kind of whack. And she was just like, man, these photos are dope. And in my head, I was like, really? Because I could have spent like another 30 minutes on each one of those photos, right? Or my team could have spent another hour on each one of those photos. But she was super thrilled and excited and was like, yo, every time I'm at a competition, I want you to take my photos. And I was like, great, cool.
Wow. And first off, one of my best friends, he's an influencer now. Yeah, who saw that coming?
Same voice too?
Who saw that coming, Alex? No, his character doesn't speak.
Oh.
That's his voice that he should have. Literally, I think, it's shout outs to my boy, Alex. But I am so, not jealous, but like want to feel how he feels, because just him and a group of friends picked up from New York and went to California in 2014, not knowing anybody, not knowing how they would pursue anything, and they've built a community. And I love the simple thing of just giving credit. If somebody films a skateboard, so if somebody does like a trick, somebody's just filming at a skate park, like they're looking content for everything, but they always give credit. Mm-hmm. And I feel that our local community, I'm like, who took the photo? I'm like, I don't care if it's just a standing against the cage post-training, give the credit. And that, as you said, just high ship, summarizing what you said at the beginning, was just high tide raises all ships, bring it together. And the fact that we got people like you, people like Nikki Rizzles, I think we're forming a strong media community where we all want to be the best versions of ourselves. Like, I thought I was a hardworking and psycho when it comes to caffeine. Go meet Nikki Rizzles. Like, he's like, like he's got the tactical glasses. I told him he's the love child of Frank Grillo and Chris Evans. Like,
that's a good one.
Thank you. Right? He's got the sharp hair. Like, I was like, dude, it's perfect for you. But I think we're starting to form a team, and it's like, I don't think people feel it yet, because I want what my friend has in California, where it's nobody's trying to one up this artist or that guy turned pro. I want to be a pro skater too. And it's like, no, it just happens organically. And so many times that I think the kids are missing it with this age of influence, in that it's not just one person that you see on the camera. You have teammates, you have a family, and I think you have a great core, because you're immediately deflecting to teammates. You seem very shy when I'm giving you credit. You're not like pounding your chest like, yeah, mother, it's right. Like, yeah, I'm here. Like, I just think you and people like you will just continue to grow this community that we're forming. I don't know. I've never really formulated these thoughts, as you can tell, but I'm just happy to connect with you. And I can immediately tell when we cross paths in Sarah, the ego is in check. I mean, dude, you're doing some very special things in your life. You have done some very special things. Why isn't your ego just like climbing out of your mouth? Think of that like a 90s album, somebody climbing out of a mouth. Like, why isn't your ego climbing out of your mouth? How is it in check so much?
That's a really good question. I think
Took me a long way to get there, but
I think it depends on who you're speaking to that engages with me. I think that's a big piece. Because I think with everything that we do in life, there's a space to grow, right? And to learn. Even the things I'm really, really good at. I know in life that I'm really, really good at certain things. Like I'm really, really, really good at certain things. And I'm willing to admit I'm really good at those things. But if I'm a GOAT at my craft, I know there's levels. You could always learn, man. Like I could take a picture and think this is awesome. And then a kid in his innocence or her innocence or their innocence just kind of grabs a photo or camera and just snaps a photo, completely unaware of all of the technical details or, whatever it may be, and carelessly capture something that's amazing and epic, right? And I think that's a big piece of it, is that there's always space and opportunity to learn. And I mean, you can't do jujitsu and have an ego. You're gonna get choked out, right?
Right.
So the ego is just not there, and I don't think it'll ever be there. I think there's levels to everything. The other thing that I really want to say about that is that in the spaces where I am confident, there have been times where I've been confident, and in that same light been wrong, right? And I think a big piece is knowing that you can be confident and be wrong. And I think there's confidence also in being like, yo, I was completely off, my bad. I think that's a big piece. And I think that whenever you kind of take a step back and just learn and observe and be objective about things, I think there's an opportunity to put that ego aside and to open yourself up to learn more.
Well said. Rizzles was talking about he was doing like a sales job, and I could tell immediately when he began the story that he was probably working with some people that he hated, and he was probably trying to be somebody that he's not, like a creator, an artist, and you got to like sell and like push things that you don't necessarily believe in. And looking back, like those people, I think there's a lot of insecure people. Do you immediately know when this guy's like, okay, all right, this guy feels, like I'm a threat, and not like a physical threat, but like, you're successful, you're put together, you have a clean mind, a clean heart. People can, there's some like animalistic like sense to that. Like if I'm in a room and somebody's just like trying to control the room, and I'm like, okay, have you run into that? Because take it away.
Like, when did I post this? I think like yesterday or the day before. I was like, I've had the pleasure to be surrounded by a lot of dangerous people.
Yes.
And a lot of different walks of life. And I've learned that the most dangerous person in the room is usually the most humble. And so it's interesting because my approach...
Look at Matt Serra, for example. This
Facts.
guy...
Facts.
In the planet. Like, he held the planet in his hand for a stretch. And he's no slouch now, guys, at 50. Like, He might be in better shape than he was right when he retired. Like, because everything is in check. Like, and he carries himself like the gym teacher. Like, come on, guys, let's go. How you doing? How you feeling? What's this? And it's like, that's the most secure man.
Yeah, he's definitely a motivator. he's super secure. Going back to that previous discussion, I say that I've learned I'm good at something, right? Verbal judo. I'm good at, right? And I think that when people approach me with that aggression, and I say this carefully, right? Because there are instances where you do have to escalate the level of aggression that you're being met with. And I think you have to be able to decipher when that is the case and when that is not the case. I think it takes a lot to really know that. But in most instances, especially in these days, whenever I'm approached with extreme aggression or defense, I take a step back and I crawl into a space, right? And not crawling into a space where I'm afraid, but I'm almost kind of saying, hey, I'm not a threat here. I'm just like, we could talk about this, right?
You know where you put your hands? Are you conscious of that? Like me, I'm like, okay,
100%.
my hands in my pocket. If I'm talking to something and
I never put my hands in my pocket because then I can't take them out fast enough.
I'm trying, but I mean, like if it's a boss and you're like asking about like, I just want to, or like something happened, it's like, I don't want to be a threat. I don't want to be scary or a family member because it's like, oh my God, like you train. People think it's like, no, some of the most nicest people are the most well-trained people.
Yeah, I think nonverbal cues are huge. I think there is a difference between coming off as not a threat and also coming off as prey. And I think you have to be cautious as to how you come off, right? Because if you come off as not a threat to you, right, then that may mean the person or subject that you're engaging with may no longer want to escalate the situation. But if you come off as prey to the person, depending on who you're engaging with or the subject that you're engaging with, they may now run with that because they may see, okay, this is prey and I'm predator. So I think that I've been in many situations where I've had to stand my ground and say, hey, I'm not a threat to you, but I'm also not prey.
I like
either,
that.
Right? And I think that's really important as well.
I like that because I was very quiet at my first real job for 5 years. And then all of a sudden, year 6, I'm like, all right, I'm going to speak up. I've been your soldier long enough. And it's like they were confused. Like, whoa. I'm not used to the prey now being or being on an offense or defending themselves. Like, it was a huge, like, okay, maybe I should not go in quiet and just like type away, be the like chop the wood. And it's like, no, you gotta express it and let them know. My friend, as I mentioned in California, dude, he could have wrestled D1. He turned down a D1 scholarship to Buffalo. He knows jiu-jitsu now. Has competed in tournaments. Jacked. Like he shows off his physique in his character. He's jacked. He could defend himself. But yet, we talk all the time. Like, people will see him as, like, this girl, like, they look at him, like, soft because he's quiet and he's polite and he's nice and he, like, shakes his hand. He could rip somebody's veins off their ulna. Yeah. But he's like, sometimes I have to tell them what time it is. Like, I have to, like, stretch my chest and, like, express and, like,
yeah.
It's such a weird dance of you want to be nice and humble and you want everybody to get along, but also you don't want to be prey.
Yeah. So it's funny you say shake hands. I think about a few instances where I go to shake someone's hands and they're like crushing my fingers.
Oh, I hate that when they grab the tips and I'm like, I didn't even get in there.
I'm like, bro, like, seriously, bro? Like, it's not that serious. Like, I can give you a firm handshake, but you don't have to crush my, extremities, bro. Yeah, like, yeah, I get it. That's funny.
You're funny, man. Have you ever thought about doing some on-camera, like, acting or something?
Oh, no.
Come on. I could see you, Park and Recreations or whatever the show, like an office show.
I don't have the patience for it. Like, they'll give me a role and I'll be like, yeah, I'm not doing that. And they're like, why not? And
That's funny.
Like, yeah, no.
That's your character.
It's not me.
Bro, you'd be the cool teacher. If they had, like, a high school, like, cool teacher, Nicky Rizzles would teach. He would teach. Is he a history guy? Do you see him as history? I see you as a cool scientist guy. All of a sudden, like, you're walking out of a classroom with smoke behind you, like, and your glasses, and you're like, I shouldn't have combined this. Like, you have a science brain. Like, even though it's art, what you do, you're like an inventor in there. I don't know. I just see you as that, like. Me, I would be like I don't know what, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what I would do in school.
I'm still stuck on what Rizzles would be. I was like, yeah, I'm still stuck on it.
Dr. G would be the school nurse. Who's else?
What would Palacino be?
He scares me. I love you, Big Tony. I call him Big Tony because it's like, I want to let you know, like, you scare me. You scare the bejesus out of me. He would be the janitor that's like gonna like blow up the school.
You call him a janitor? Oh my god!
But he's just plotting.
I'm leaving now, bro.
But he's just plotting, like, and nobody thanks him. Like the kids just throw shit. And he's always cleaning, and then his eyes just start the 1,000-yard stare, and then he just murders kids. Like, yes. Tony is a killer. Tony is a killer.
He's deadly.
Like, I never ask him, and he's like, "You?" I'm like, "Yes," and I'm like, "With your permission, I will get killed." Like, he scares me. Tony scares me. He's a shark. He's got that like. Blood in the
You've rolled with him before?
Oh my god! I mean, you could call it a roll or a slaughter or a sacrifice.
Died by him before.
Yeah. He's the scariest person. Like,
so talking about the going back to the subject of like threat and prey and all that good jazz. I rolled with him recently, maybe like I don't know 6 weeks ago or something like that, right? And the first thing I do is, and it's funny because I don't go to Nogi that often, but I was like, all right, Tony. Let's see how many times you could submit me in 60 seconds. And he's like, but that's no fun. And I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, well, then you're not going to learn anything. And I was like, well, you got a point. And it was a good role. I learned a lot from that role, right? And I think, rewinding again, even more, backtracking. I think when you have a mindset to learn.
This is like a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah. I think when you have a mindset to learn, it makes you humble. Right, like where you really want to learn, especially from because we have some killers on the mat. Like we had a competition this past weekend. Shout outs to Long Island Jiu-Jitsu Networks. Shout outs to
that looks so much fun.
Folks. Yo, it was fun. Shout outs to all the folks that competed.
My boy Chuck.
And we have a lot of dudes that could have competed at the competition. And we still had a great team that competed at the competition, right? And there are a lot of factors for how you win or lose there. I'm not going to get into the semantics there. But, man, I look at some of the guys on the mat, and I'm like, these dudes are killer. Especially when we have, like, MMA drop-ins, right? Like, or UFC drop-ins. I'm like, that guy's kind of deadly, But, I just approach it from, like, what do you want to work on today? What resistance do you want? And I'm learning as they're working on whatever it is they want to learn. Or, I break it down from like, I know you can beat me. This is like, I'm not here to win, lose, get beaten. I'm here to learn. So if I usually opening the round up with a joke or something like that, I'm really easing the crowd too.
Exactly. That's a very wise mindset. Did you always have it? Were you like, maybe the shy kid that learned the defense mechanism to have the verbal judo early on? Or was that like, can I mention, we could cut this out, that you were in the Army?
Yeah. I mean, the Army does the complete opposite. It really does the complete opposite. I think you need to get cracked a few times, right? Like, it's funny. So when I go, well, I don't anymore, but when I meet new people, or when I used to date and I would go and meet new people, and it's funny because I don't lay my hands on women or anything like that. But I asked a woman, I'd be like, hey, you ever been punched in the face? And she's like, wait, what?
That's one of the, that's the icebreaker.
Yeah. It's like, what? Like, later on they tell me they went to their homegirls and they said that I positioned that question. And it's always like, it's always a shock to people.
Yeah.
But I truly think, so I learned very much so that most people have never been punched in the face.
Oh, I see where you're
getting
going.
Believe it or not, right? Most people have never been punched in the face. And when you've been punched in the face, usually you've escalated the situation to a point, or you've allowed the situation to escalate to a point where now a physical altercation is imminent, right? And it actually occurs. And I think when you've been punched in the face, I'm not going to do that because I might just get punched in the face, right? And knowing that, it's not the fear of, it's just I don't want to get punched in the face, so I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to push people to that extent. People that have not been punched in the face don't know what falling off that cliff feels like, right? And I think that's important in a controlled environment, right? Because like now this is not pleasing, it's not comfortable, right? Like seeing that white when you first get hit, right? It's not cool. So I think that also plays a big factor, right? Is knowing your limits.
Yes, self-awareness. Rampage Jackson, he said everybody should get in one fight. Like, and it's humbling. This is, how Rogan has a couple of fallback, whether, I don't know, it'll be COVID. He'll tell the story about Norm Macdonald on the plane with cigarettes. He has a couple of these, like, hit playlists.
Mm-hmm.
For me, martial arts, I believe it's a high school sport, jiu-jitsu in Brazil. I believe taekwondo is a high school sport in Korea. We should have boxing, jiu-jitsu. I know we have wrestling. And I looking back, I was like, man, I wish I spent the winter not playing freaking Madden and eating a whole box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and maybe participate in the wrestling team. I just think it was optically, you're like, oh, it's gay. Look at the tights. And like, ugh, you're weird. And like if you're surrounded by other like-minded people like that, you're definitely not going to try wrestling.
Yeah.
But maybe if I was 14, 15, 16, 17, and I saw boxing, or I saw karate, or I saw a kimono and jiu-jitsu, I'd be like, oh, let me jump in there. And my point is to piggyback off what you're saying. I think if people had more physical contact, not necessarily contact sport, but like controlled contact, like martial arts, I think we would be better as a society.
Yeah, I think so. I think the discipline, the understanding, the determination, right?
Respect to you to get your son in martial arts. Respect to you, man.
Yeah, I think it gives nothing but good qualities, right? I think it's super important. I like the fact, though, that not everybody does martial arts because I get to be dangerous, more dangerous
Yes.
than your average person at baseline, right?
But I think it'd be like, everybody says carrying a gun, and I don't agree with this, but carrying a gun means nobody gets shot.
Yeah. I think there's a space for that argument. And I do think that the society would have a lot less conflict if everyone learned how to navigate conflict, especially physical conflict, right? Because man, physical conflict, it hits different, right? If you got a guy and he has you mounted and he's 300 pounds, it's like, and you're 200, it's different, right?
Yes.
It hits different. So I do think that there's a space for that in society where our interaction and engagement, and everybody would have been punched in the face, and not everyone would go to that extreme now because they know what the top end of that would feel like.
And I'm scared shitless of confrontation. I really am. That's why it's almost like the Batman, like, be the symbol that you're scared of. It's like I train to like control that fear. Like if somebody's like, oh, like they find out I compete or I train and I'm quote unquote dangerous, to like, oh, what would you do in a street fight? I go, my number one martial art in a street fight is cardio. I go, I'm running away from conflict. It's like, it scares me.
Yeah, I think there's a space for that. But going back to the argument, pray, right? Like, you got to make sure you're not. And there is a space where you have to run away and know, like, I need to retreat from this situation. And there's also the space where it's dumb. What's the point? Like, if you know you can win in this situation, why create who cares if you run away from a situation where you need to? It might be the best option that you have, right?
Yes.
In that predicament. And I think that's useful in certain spaces. I welcome conflict. I like conflict because it pushes me to learn. It pushes me to grow. That's not to say I'm an instigator or I'm going to, I also find myself having to explain things, right? Because like if someone's talking about something and I go, but why? But what made you do that? But why would you think that? And they look at me like, why are you challenging me? I'm like,
right.
I'm not challenging you. I want to set the stage. I'm just trying to understand and learn where you're coming from, right? And you mentioned Joe, and you mentioned a few other folks. I think Joe's very much like that. He goes, wait, but why would you go there? But why would you? And it's because he's genuinely curious.
Yes.
And if I ask you a question, but why? It's an open-ended question. You have the opportunity to think about why you do something, and then I have the opportunity to learn about why you think it is that you do something.
Yeah, I think that would bode well, better for society. I think people don't ask enough questions. One, there's the group of sheeple who just follow suit. Oh, a person in a white jacket
Groupthink.
told me this. Groupthink. My father says a great quote. He's like, only dead fish go with the flow. And yeah, it may be tough to go upstream, basically to be an individual like yourself, like I'm trying to be, I'm sure it wasn't always catered to growing up, of being a beautiful-eyed creator where you can just explore your artistic genes. Like society, Long Island, and specifically New York, it's tough. And you basically got to put on your figurative hard hat and like deal with a lot of punches to the gut and be tough. And if you can come out on the other end of that with your creative side intact and your armor hardened, like you can do great things, which you are doing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate people like you who have gone through the gauntlet and you're only getting better.
Yeah. Shout outs to the hood. I think there are a lot of things to learn from the hood. And I think that the resources are there. You just have to learn how to navigate them to get out of a precarious situation, right? And I think that if I didn't go through what I did go through,
but why didn't it pull you down? Why did you rise up? Was it a specific parent? Was it a mentor, a teacher?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not going to mention his name, but I had a guidance counselor in school. Well, I had two guidance counselors. I had one that truly believed in me. Shout outs to Mr. Stanislaus from Middle School Alexander 51 in Brooklyn. But I had another one in high school that said, you're going to be nothing in life. You're going to either end up in jail or dead.
Wow.
And those words, like he truly believed those words. And I truly was like, I'm going to prove you wrong, right? And I think about, this is probably not someone that everybody quotes all the time, but Pharrell, he has a song.
From the Neptunes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Did you make a comment?
Shout outs to you, for dropping It Blows My Mind. That is old school. That might be like 05, 06.
iTunes, you need to put that in your library. I don't know why you don't have it there, or Apple Music. But
it's on my iPod that it's old school charger, but
yeah, that 30-pin connector, right? So
yes, it probably is 30 pins, you sicko.
So he said, motivation for me is them telling me what I could not be. Oh well.
Say it again.
Motivation for me is them telling me what I could not be. Oh well. And I think that you could find yourself in many circles where folks will tell you you're not going to be anything, and if you truly believe that, you won't be anything. And I think that, I mean, it comes from inside. And so many people, I know people that have a similar walk of life and they drown, and I know people have a similar walk of life and they flourish. And it can be nature, it can be nurture, it could be a combination or interaction of the two. And I went on a tangent there, but I digress. I genuinely feel that with that conflict, you have control over what you can and cannot do. And if you grasp the bull by its horns, you will succeed. You might get trampled and run over and stabbed, but that's a whole discussion for another day.
I want to ask you probably the hardest question I'm going to ask you.
Shoot.
You are flourishing. Is it easy because of your work ethic, your core attributes, your character, to find allies, or do you still run into resistance because of your skin color?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that it is challenging at times to find allies. I think that we are in a capitalistic society where everyone wants to win, right? And some people feel like they need to step on someone else to win. And that isn't always the case, and I don't think that everybody knows that that's always the case. I have interactions on a regular basis. I have a neighbor, and it's funny, I was having this conversation this morning, and I had invited him to the competition that we had this weekend. And so he was like, well, I got a lot of things going on, so on and so forth, the kids and so on. And I was like, cool, no problem. I understand. And I've invited him to a few things in the past, just to be, and he's come off like super welcoming and friendly and like, yeah, I'm going to help you and everything. And I've always been like, I don't know. something's there, right? And so I send him the link with the photos, right? And I'm like, hey, here's the photos from that weekend. And what did he say? He said something like, yo, these are great. On my computer, I can see when someone logs in. I can see where your IP address tracks from. I can see when someone's actively on the site. I can see who's registered to the website. I know that you need to be registered to see those photos. I wasn't asking you to buy anything or do the most. And the registration is first name, last name, email, and handle, if you have, right?
And you're not forcing these links down people's throat, right? He seemed into it.
Yeah, he seemed into it. And I don't care. I'm not even hurt by it. If you're not interested in something, say, hey, I appreciate it. I'm not interested. I know some people can't take that, so people are hesitant to.
Yes.
But I can take it, and I don't know that he knows that. So like, not saying it's his fault or anything like that. But he was just like, man, like, yeah, like, cool photos. And I'm like, bro, you didn't look at them.
Clearly a brush off.
Yeah, you didn't log into the site because you don't have an account, so you can't see the photos. I know you need an account to see the photos. So like, there's that, right? And I walk in my neighborhood at times, and I had a lady the other day, and I'm walking. She goes, hey, I see you walking the dog every day. So you're a dog walker? And I'm like, no. She's like, oh,
so you're a dog walker?
Yeah. I'm like, no. She's like, well, is it and I can't
remember. You're not a
teenager.
Name. You're not 20.
It's like, oh, so is this such and such's dog? No. Is it your friend's dog?
Wow.
No. So whose dog is it? It's my dog, and I live at the house over there. And then I had another one like a couple of days ago, and she was just like, hey, I know the dogs, or I know the owners by their dogs. Is that like Chloe, right? It was like the name of the dog. And I was like, no.
You got a big ass dog. There's no way that name's Chloe.
No. Well, I had a big dog a long time ago, but I have like a small dog now.
Okay.
It's like, is that Chloe? I'm like, no. Oh, that's Jessie. No. So whose dog is it? Oh, that's Jay's dog. Oh, okay. All right. Well, hi, my name is Stephanie. Oh, hi, Stephanie. I'm Jay. I live over there.
Jeez, so you've played judo with this.
Yeah, I get a lot of passive aggressive stuff
which
all
is
the time.
Crazy that you've gotten like used to it.
Yeah, I mean, like, ignorance is bliss, and you're ignorant to argue with ignorance, right? So I think that there's a space and a time for it.
Even if those people aren't racist, there's still like a changing of
thought process from that engagement. Is that where you're going?
It's still embedded in people's minds that because of people look a certain way, that they can't be a certain way. And that, I'm not saying they're racist, but it's like burned into their head that only commercials, movies, leads in movies. Because I got into martial arts for Keanu Reeves. I'm sure so many guys picked up bodybuilding for Arnold Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. But where's Black John Wick? Where's Black Arnold Schwarzenegger? You know what drove me freaking crazy? And they made two more after that. And I always butcher his name. Idris Elba.
Yep.
Who would be a better James Bond? This guy is British. He is buff. He did a Muay Thai fight.
There were talks about that.
I'm like, who would be... This is like 2019, 2020. I'm like, who would be a better James Bond?
You know, it's funny because, okay, and I say this, I have to be cautious when I say this, especially publicly.
Where's the Miles Morales Spider-Man, man? Like, you could do a trilogy.
I think we are also a minority in martial arts as a whole. We're interested in consuming as a whole. It's not often that you see a lot of folks of color practicing, or it's not often that I've seen a lot of folks of color practicing. And shout outs to Matt Saris, shout out to Dojo. Love those guys, love everyone there, right? But let's look at our dojo. How many people of color are in our dojo? Think about it. Really think about it. How many people look like me? How many people?
There's 100 people just making a percentage. 15%?
No, way less than that.
8%? So 92 versus 8?
I would say it's probably less.
5?
it might.
Now you're gonna make me
okay,
look tonight.
Well, okay, tonight, right? Go again, Matt. You know I love you, man. Got a lot of love for Matt. Got a lot of love, and it's not anything. He's not doing anything wrong. He's welcoming to everybody, super inclusive. You know, yada yada. I have to make that clear. But there's okay. So I'll tell you the folks that I know. I know Errol. Errol comes on like the weekends. I don't know if you know Errol. He transferred from another school. There's a black belt that I know. He trains no-gi often. I think Freddie, are you black? I need.
Well, eventually this will be live and Freddie could call in.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll get there.
And I'm trying to think who else. There's oh man,
Marcus.
So sorry. Well, of course there's
My
Marcus.
boy Marcus.
Yeah, of course there's Marcus. There's Will. Black belt Will.
Oh yes.
Yeah, black belt.
Scary.
Will. Yeah.
I'm like, you're too nice. I
He's-
go, you're gonna turn me
he's
into a
calm.
pretzel.
He's calm but dangerous.
And he does the
Okay.
soft handshake too, and I'm like, I know where this starts and where this
So
ends.
how many more are there?
Definitely not more than you've said.
How many students you think Matt
I would
has?
say
got-
200.
You're way below. Matt's got a ton of students. There are people that, remember, they're also Longolians.
Non-shows.
Right? There are people that don't show. There are people that have their own schools, you know. Like, he's probably got, I don't care about his business from, like, I'm not watching his money or anything like that, right? But he's got a ton of students, man. You're talking about 20 years at least of students that have been practicing, that have been under him, right? How many black belts has he made that will always be students of his, right? So how many people do you think? It's a really low percentage. I've only named like 5, including myself.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's another white belt who his dad used to train under, and I think he's a Longo guy. He comes in, he wears like a hoodie over his gi or whatever the case may be. But
Yes.
you know who I'm
Christian.
talking about, right? Oh, okay. I don't know his name, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Long Christian.
yeah. So that's pretty much it when you think about it.
So are you using this example as like the world or America in general?
It'd be a disservice to say that, right? Because we're in just one small cluster of the U.S. But from what I've seen, I mean, I go to events, right? We went to the Longo event. We went to Long Island Jiu-Jitsu Network event. And you just got to do this.
Oh my God, dude! Look at the Knicks game tonight. And guys, yes, we're recording the day of game 1 of Knicks versus Pacers. But you ever just look like, I'm like, this is crazy that, and I'm sure LeBron recognizes it, and it's like other people who have like out of the matrix who aren't just like shut up and dribble. It's like the whole crowd, the people cheering for you. That's why it's like shout outs to Spike Lee to make it to that point. Before Spike Lee, it was like just Jack Nicklaus who could sit there.
But it's also a resource thing, right? It's also resources. It's an economic thing, right? Like one of the big things that we have, and okay, so I grew up in the hood, right? I didn't know wrestling was actual wrestling. The only wrestling I knew was WWE. Outside of that, jiu-jitsu. What was that? You know, karate and boxing, and those are the only 2 things that I knew.
And I would
existed.
say white people were karate, black people were boxing.
Yeah, because boxing you can do anywhere, right? Like all you need is, you talk about gi and all these other expenses, and then what an average dojo, you can go to boxing gym for $20 a month, right? Let's be real. Like the culture accepts it, so on and so forth, right?
Shout outs to the PALs.
Yeah. How much is your average jiu-jitsu membership? Okay, so you place that, you got to place that in a demographic from a business perspective where it makes sense. What memberships are $200 a month in, say, Brownsville, Brooklyn? Nothing. I'll tell you that right now, right? So it doesn't make sense to open up from a business perspective. If I go to a bank and I want a loan, I'm gonna need a hell of a convincing argument to say, hey, give me money to open a jiu-jitsu gym in Brownsville, Brooklyn. That's not to say someone can't do it, right? But it doesn't particularly make sense. So I think there are a lot of different factors that come into play. Going back to a previous conversation that we had, I think there's a difference also between, and I say this, I have to be super clear when I say this.
Take your time.
I think that there is racism. There's being prejudice. I never say that word right. English is my second language, folks, so bear with me.
For real?
Yeah, it is. Spanish is my first, by the way. And I think there is, you are accustomed to seeing something, and now you're seeing something new, and as a human, you go, this is different. What's going on, right? Because growing up in the same neighborhoods where I'm from, if I see someone circle the block and there's 4 dudes on the block and they're circling and it's 4 dudes of a certain demographic and they're circling the block and I see them look a certain type of way, I'll be like, threat. If I see 4 dudes circling the block and they look a different type of way, I'll be like, psh, right? Because I'm accustomed to something being a threat and I'm accustomed to something not being a threat.
Right.
Now, does that make me racist or not? Or, that I've consistently seen something that's a threat to me. That I think when racism really hits, it's when I assume that is the case in every circumstance. And I also genuinely have a dislike or disagreement with one based on a color or so on and so forth. But I think there's a space where something is common and something is uncommon, and you need to stop for a moment and be like, why is that different?
And think about this from a presentation and attitude perspective. The white guy can be humble and carefree and swing the arms down the block because there's more of them. But when the black guy or the Spanish guy has an attitude, walks with an attitude, and then the white cop or the white teacher is like, looks at them as like a target.
Yeah.
You could go as far as to say as a threat.
Yeah.
And it's just, if the black man didn't have that confidence, they would be prey. It's almost like a defense mechanism to walk with confidence.
Oh, 100%. Because you like...
That makes sense?
No, 100. Look, I agree. You can't walk in a certain neighborhood looking soft. Right? Because...
I explained to my wife, we live in Washington Heights and Bushwick. I said, hands in the pocket. Oh, never wore the glasses. Walking, like, don't... Like we're McGregor? No. Because they're calling her Snowflake. And I was like, no. I was like, don't pay any mind.
No, but you are right. Like in the 90s, you grew a certain I recall when there was a certain engagement with certain people. You knew that the engagement was not going to be fair, so you avoided certain engagement, right? If I walk down. There were blocks where I grew up where you could not walk down. If you didn't come from that block or didn't know someone on that block, you could not walk down the block. It was like, hey, rob me, please, right now, today,
yeah,
right? And today's a little bit of a different world. Like I go and I see, my kids go and they see a group of people and they're like, oh, excuse me. I'm like, oh, right? Like you probably should not walk through them and say, excuse me, walk around them,
Right.
But different experiences.
I learned once jumping over a dice game. I'll go around the car.
You jumped over a CeeLo game?
I was exhausted. I was working overnight, and then all of a sudden I just walked through, and I was like, okay.
First of all, you said dice, so I know you different demographic, different neighborhood. But CeeLo, like 3 dice, like six,
they could have been
1?
playing laying at 3 in a row. I didn't know.
Where were they playing? Where? What neighborhood?
On the sidewalk.
What neighborhood?
Washington Heights.
CeeLo. Go ahead. 3 dice?
No eye contact.
You didn't have time.
I just want to be cool, not a target, walk around.
Yeah.
And I was like, my bad. Like, I was like, whoa, my bad. And then I realized just go to the street, pass the car, go around it again. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, like, don't be a target. Don't be a target.
Yeah.
I forgot where we're going with there. But yeah, it's you. Okay. From my perspective, Jewish guy, I always tip more.
Yeah.
I always tip more.
Yeah.
Why? What's the stereotype? Cheap. And it's like I go out of my way not to be cheap.
That's hilarious.
I go out of my way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself... Well, Daniel Cormier said this when they said, John Jones this. They were praising John Jones on a broadcast. And he says one thing. And it was like one of the most ingenious things. He goes, John Jones is typical. And they're like, all right, when we come back from commercial break, like nobody noticed it. They said, like, what's the difference in you and John Jones? He said, John Jones is typical. Like, I'm not your typical black man. He didn't say all this, but I picked it up. I watched the clip like 4 times. John Jones is the angry black man. That sells. We put that on the poster, the angry black man.
Yeah.
But Daniel Cormier being a family man, being a guy who wants to present himself on a broadcast next to 2 white commentators, present himself on a desk next to 3 white co-hosts. Like, he's like, I'm breaking the stereotype of being this angry black man. Have you ever found yourself in any walks of life where you're like, okay, I could fall into this trap?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we all have demons.
Correct.
And I think how we fight with those demons is important, and how we navigate the world knowing that those demons might still be on our trail as we continue to progress is important. I'll just share a quick story. I was 15. There was a sting operation. There was a guy that was allegedly stealing purses in the train station. So I am walking through a train station with my girlfriend at the time, and so they had placed a bag in a phone booth. And so I'm with my girlfriend. My girlfriend goes, "Oh, look, there's a bag there." And I'm like, "Okay." Well, so I grab the bag, open it up. I'm like, "Okay, maybe we can get some ID and find out who this person is." So I'm looking through the bag, and the bag has, like, you remember the old flip phones? They would put like papers in them, as opposed to it would be the shell of the flip phone, because people would rob the flip phones from the store, so they on display they wouldn't have.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So they had a whole bunch of those fake phones and business cards, and I was like random business cards, and I was like, this is weird. And so some kids saw it. They were like, "Hey, we saw you grab that purse. Can we have it?" And I was like, "Well, there's no unique identifier for me to give this to someone." I was like, "Hey, here you go, grab it." All of a sudden, I see dudes running past me, and this is for you Brooklyn folks, this is on Atlantic Avenue, which is now called Barclays
Downtown
Center
Brooklyn,
or something like that. Yeah, it's in the train station, and I'm on when you come up from the N platform, D platform, and so then these long steps going down, like, right, there's a 2 platform on the right hand side. Well, it's the local, 2 platform, and then you go all the way down where you can keep going down the long hallway to the queue. So all of a sudden I see these dudes running past me, full-fledged, full speed, big dudes, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And my girlfriend's like, "What's going on?" And usually that's like they're running a fight. So I'm walking down these long steps, and they're like, the big guys stop at the bottom. They're like, "Where'd he go? Where'd he go?" They turn around, they point at me, and I'm like, "What'd I do?" Yoked up, boom, boom, lift up, thrown in the back of a truck with cuffs on. And 48 hours later, I'm processed. And my name is in the system. And now for the rest of my life, I have to explain what happened.
And good luck not having people's eyes glaze over and roll their eyes when you're telling them.
Yeah. So it's like stuff like that where you're like, what the hell, bro? Like,
they don't do sting operations in Greenpoint.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, there's an argument for it too, right? Like, not saying that's the right way to do it, but they don't do sting operations in Greenpoint because they don't have that same crime in Greenpoint, right? At that time, there's a lot more to this. This is just a small snippet, and we probably don't have the time to unpack it. But there's that. And then there's my mom first came to this country. She didn't speak any English. I'm the oldest of my brothers. And I'm in a neighborhood where you have to join a gang. Otherwise, you got to fight yourself, fight through these guys every day. You know, you have no protection. It's just my mom and I. And so you have to get cool with these dudes, and you have to find a way to either be cool with these dudes, be done with these dudes, or you're going to be against these dudes. And so it's
like a jail mentality.
It was hard being black in America, being a young black kid with no dad in America, being a statistic ultimately in the hood. Like, and you are just angry because you feel like the world is against me, like I'm set up, so on and you come out like furious. And so I think part of the way to pull folks out is to let them know that they have resources and they have a way out. I didn't feel like I had a way out till I joined the Army. Shout outs to the United States Army. But And that's not the path for everyone, but I feel like that was my saving grace. You know, I modeled and did a few other things before, and so I had certain opportunity, but I was still shackled to the hood, right? In many ways, and the army kind of ripped me from that and was just like, here is a reset. I mean, part of it is brainwashing, really, right? Like, you're brainwashed to control what you eat, sleep, all that good jazz. That's brainwashing, my man. But I think we just needed someone to tell. I just needed someone to tell me, hey, here's a resource, here's a hand, like, I have this potential. You shout outs to the person that helped me out, you know who you are, but I had someone that said, man, you're amazing, and you can do great things. And they essentially had to risk their job. They were a counselor. They had to risk their job and take me in, and that's what helped me get out.
Shout outs to that person. Shout outs to you. Stay beautiful. Jeruzelski. I told you I butchered it by now. Mr. Goy.
Yeah.
At 718 Beard on Insta. J Ski Consultant on Insta. j-ski.com. You are amazing, man. And
Thanks,
I think we peeled one layer of the onion.
Yeah.
Because you make me cry. That's why you're an onion. Off the top of the head.
Yeah.
But I would love to have you in studio again. I got to get back to fatherly duties.
I'd love to be back.
I appreciate you. Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing, man. Don't stop. Don't stop.
Thanks, man.
Yes, follow this man on Instagram. Does beautiful work. He's amazing. I'll see him on the mats. I've been eating Ben & Jerry's. A pint a day will keep the doctor in your life. So I don't know how tonight's going to go. But I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Subscribe, like, follow him
Peace.
on social. Your boy is out. Peace.